Hey everybody, welcome, and tonight we are blessed and honored to have Corey Bornman back to present. And if you've never seen one of Corey's webinars, then his trademark is this rather scary looking thing on your screen right now, which is actually a mind map. And since it relates to the mind and its productivity, you know I didn't invent it, but Corey is going to explain how to start and finish front to back everything you wanted to know about how to run your niche marketing campaigns. Absolutely complete. Everything right, Corey? But no startup capital. You're not going to have a contest where we can win a free.
No, we're not going to talk about startup capital.
Oh, okay. I was kind of hoping maybe it's you'd give us a market where we could all go home and retire and get the hell out of this heat.
Sure. Well, that's Chris's job. On the line, we also have Chris Rempel from The Lazy Marketer.
Well, we need that in this heat. Welcome to the show tonight, Chris. And you guys, I'm going to shut up and go back to sucking on something icy cold, and I'll talk to you a little later. And thanks so much for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Great. Thanks, Rick. All right, guys. Well, tonight we're talking about niche websites, and luckily we have Chris with us, who is really the man when it comes to building niche websites. I've got a lot of experience with this, but standing next to Chris, he's got way more. So what we're going to start off now is we're going to talk about the initial concept and how I like to grab my initial concepts for finding niches, and then we'll ask Chris to chime in there a little bit. So the idea here is that we're going to be prospecting for a new popular niche to enter, or a classic niche, whatever. But we're digging. Okay. One of the places that I like to go for this is the YouTube Trends dashboard. Now, if you guys have never seen this, which a lot of marketers haven't, it's just youtube.com/trends. Dashboard, and what you can do here is you can filter this by country, ages, and sex. Okay, so what I did was earlier I came in here and I was looking for interesting trends to present tonight, and what I did was I did a search across the different age groups. So I hit 18 to 24 years male, 35 to 40-year-old male, and 35 to 44-year-old male. And as I looked down this list, one thing kind of jumped out at me immediately, that across all three demographics, we had the Halo 4, I guess it's like a preview. I didn't go watch the video because I was preparing for the webinar, but I noticed that this one was in all four of those. So I thought that was, or all three, I thought that was pretty interesting. So what I did was I took a note on that, and I used that. Whoa. Hold on here. Let's get that back. Okay. So what I did was I noted that, and what I do is open up a Word doc or text document or something like that and start taking notes immediately. Another place that I like to go is the Amazon bestsellers list, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably seen this one. This is the bestsellers list, and what you can do is go down here, really across any of the categories that they have in Amazon, and you can go through that and check out interesting products as a starting point.
That's crazy. I have the same underwear as that guy, actually.
Do you wear it with the cool shades too?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
It was the upsell.
Yeah, right. Chris, what do you like to do when you're looking initially for your initial concepts with niche websites?
I'm a little backwards, but and I don't know. I guess it's arguable that this is maybe a little bit after the fact, but what I honestly do is I just look at who is buying links. And who is aggressively marketing the hell out of their sites. And the best way to do that, and this is sort of, I don't know, I haven't talked about this too much. I have on some of our Recon webinars, but seriously, when you start buying links on places like some of the shadier blog networks and that kind of stuff on the webmaster forums, you get a sense for what people are advertising, and you get a sense for what people are pushing. And typically, people aren't going to go and buy like PR6 or PR7 links to sites that they aren't very serious about and that they don't generally know for a fact are going to convert very well and do very well for them. And so, that's where you run into stuff like you'll see the college recruiting offers and payday loans and that kind of stuff. There's these recurring niches that are just, like crack cocaine to marketers because there's so much money in them. And you can really dig into that. It's not a refined process, and it's by no means, like a central sort of resource, by any means. But what you can do is you can kind of, you can pretend to be Google and find these blog nets, and you can use backlink discovery tools like ahrefs.com or majesticseo.com and so on. Look up sites that are ranking for pretty popular keywords in the main markets like weight loss and that kind of stuff. Look for obvious affiliates. They've most likely bought themselves there or bought themselves their rankings, and then take a look at where their backlinks are. Typically it's going to be a bunch of useless blogs, but it's not useless to you, because what you can do is go through and peruse those horrible spun articles, but find out where those links are pointing to, and you'll have a plethora of niches that at the very least are worth someone's money and time promoting. And then you can go from there, you can drill into it, you can start looking at those kinds of keyword profiles. And I think it's just a very solid way to find out what's already working for people. That's not necessarily how you spot emerging trends, and you won't be on the tip of the spear. But as for what's working, typically it's pretty cut and dry. Maybe that's a little, I don't know, Corey, do you think I should clarify sort of how you go about that, or?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. That's a really interesting concept that I know that we haven't talked about on these webinars. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, it was easier back in the day when larger networks like Build My Rank and so on were around, before they got de-indexed systematically. But at the same time, there's still a number of different places where you can find out where people are buying backlinks. And one of those places, it's maybe one of the more notorious ones, is actually just on your own blog. If you have a WordPress blog, or if you have, if you just, if you frequent a number of blogs throughout the month, and especially if you find one that's sort of been overrun with spam comments, if you have trouble finding them, just contact me. I'll send you a list of like 500,000. So there's what you can do at that point. You can see what people are using or what they're posting in their comment spam, and that's not necessarily going to be as definitive as the other method I talked about, but it's a good start. And along with the obvious pharmaceutical keywords and casino links and that kind of stuff, you are going to run into genuinely interesting niches, and maybe stuff that you haven't thought of as you go through the comment spam. Because a lot of that stuff is just ex-rumor blasts or scrape box blasts, more likely,
Right.
where people are either, they're pushing a second tier, or they're maybe stupidly pushing their money site, or maybe they're smartly pushing their competitors' sites, for negative SEO purposes. But regardless, there are definitely some gems in the dirt if you take a look at around. So that's kind of where you start. But trust me, once you get into the link buying scene, or the link renting scene, or whatever you want to call it, there's just no end of networks out there that you can peruse and that you can discover, and that you can, basically all you do is you find one guy that's bought links somewhere and look up his profile on ahrefs.com or whatever, and guaranteed he's going to have like 300 other places linking to him, and there you go. You know, you can kind of act like a search engine spider and go from there. It's a great way to discover new stuff, for sure.
That's great. That's let me try to get my mind map here again. I think I'm sucking up too much memory with this sucker. Unbelievable.
Freezing up?
Okay. Yeah, of course. So research. I had some cool things with research here, but one of the techniques, and that's something that you and I talked about, Chris, and maybe you could expand on this, is using Google Trends. Instead of going to the keyword tool to try to figure out the keywords and, you know, get their kind of estimated or whatever information that Google is willing to give you, when you go to Google Trends, what you can do is you can start with a baseline niche, okay, and you can compare your whatever new niches that you want to promote with your baseline. So if you know what your baseline traffic is for, say, Chris, I think your example a lot of times is people search.
Yeah, so like, you know, background checks specifically. So
background checks,
you know,
yeah.
I know the market well, and I was in it for quite a while, and I sold off most of my stuff in that market. But anyway, I knew kind of exactly what the keyword. Let me rephrase this. I knew what to expect for keyword impressions, so how many people were searching for the keyword every day, and I also knew what that turned into if you were either the number 1 spot, number 2 spot, number 3 spot, number 4 spot, etc. Because I had occupied, you know, as rankings happen, you sort of shift around and blah blah blah. So,
sure.
You know, I was very in touch with what that turned into with traffic. So, and anyone else can do this as well. It's not like I have some special knowledge. Anyone that's ever ranked for a keyword that sends some decent degree of traffic can definitely do this. And so, let's say you have, you're typing in electronic cigarette, perfect.
Yeah. You know, is it people search or background checks?
Just put in background check, no, just singular, yeah, not plural.
Okay.
So let's compare these two incredibly aggressive niches. So you can see background check still dwarfs eSig traffic in terms of what's there. Profitability-wise, I don't know. I mean, I've heard some pretty amazing things about the eSig market, but that paints the picture pretty well.
Sure. What kind of traffic are you usually seeing with the background checks?
Well, my site was peculiar. I mean, it was generally, at the height of it, it was doing about 6,000 to 7,000 unique visitors a day. And that was primarily actually from the keyword free background check, but also instant background checks, criminal checks, background checks as well, just like itself, background checks. So it was kind of a full gamut, and it was generally in the top 4 spots for all the major keywords. And so Google's, I think, AdWords tool estimates a background check. I think they say it's like 70,500 or so.
Okay.
And I think SEMrush has a similar figure, and so that's actually pretty low compared to what you sort of get across the gamut. But anyway, what it looks like to me, if I'm just going to look at your trends list there and kind of estimate, it looks like if you ranked for electronic cigarettes, you could probably expect a couple hundred visitors a day.
Okay.
And so, you know, trends is interesting that way because now we know that.
Sure. I found an interesting one here today when I was doing this. I go back to the Halo 4 searches. You check this out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we'll do just for 2012.
Nice.
Yeah, that's some serious traffic there.
Oh, that's crazy. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
You know what has crazy traffic? I just on a real quick bunny trail here.
Sure.
If you ever wonder why some of the major like consumer sites like consumersearch.com and stuff, they always seem to feature like the lamest products. It's always like, you know, new toasters and like blenders and stuff. Man, those things have so much freaking traffic. It's crazy. It's just it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's a quick little aside.
Yeah. So this is the key. This is really how we like to do our research. Obviously, you know, a lot of people go to the Google AdWords keyword tool, which is fine. You know, that can give you, as long as you don't take that as, you know, the gospel truth as to what your traffic numbers are going to be.
One thing I'm going to jump in here and say is that actually, since we did that webinar where we talked about trends a little while back, there's actually a really big asset now that we have as webmasters. That's a new thing. Corey, I'm sure you've heard this, but Bing in their webmaster tools released actual like to the visitor data on their traffic levels for whatever keyword. So on their number of queries, whatever query volume for any keyword that they've tracked. And so
Really?
I've been, oh yeah, it's crazy. You have to register a site, at least one domain with Bing Webmaster Tools. But when you do that and you log in and you're searching for, say, Halo 4, it won't tell you an estimate and it won't show you like kind of a vague number. It'll say, oh, you want to know how many people search for Halo 4 between like July 1st and July 15th? Okay, 186,729. And it like seriously, it'll be to the visitor. And so kind of my thoughts on it are that, yeah, they're different search engines and, you know, the Bing user base is a little bit different. Typically, they're a little bit older. But I think you can basically just sort of times it by maybe 4 or 5 to arrive at what you can sort of expect from Google.
Okay. Yeah. So 4 to 5, multiply it by 4, and that's what that's probably your Google volume. I gotcha.
I'd say that's conservative, but yeah, about 4 or 5.
Okay. Have you ever tried the YouTube keyword tool?
I haven't. No, actually, I've never messed around with it. I never have.
Yeah, that's another one that I like to check out as well. They'll give you some rough search volumes with this. Let me get here's again back to the Halo. It'll say what the monthly search volume on YouTube was for specific keywords, and then you can then add them to like your keyword basket here, kind of like the Google AdWords keyword tool does, and then you can download it in text, CSV, whatever. The good thing about this is if you're starting to incorporate video on your website, which I highly recommend. I love creating review type videos. They're easy to make, they're cheap, and they're super highly effective. And sometimes a lot easier to rank than a full-on website as well. So you like
they are
too, Chris?
Oh, dude. Not only for the traffic benefit and the additional traffic from YouTube, not to mention the fact that Google unfairly biases their own properties, including YouTube. But if you put, this is how crazy it is. This is the extent of their bias. If you embed a YouTube video on your page, on any page of your website, you will receive preference in the SERPs, and you will rank that page literally 3 or 4 times more easily than if it did not contain Google content.
Amazing, just amazing.
Yeah.
And that's not something that you'll get in a Matt Cuts video.
No. There's no nice smiling, little Matt saying, "It's user experience, guys." That's the reality. If you rank or if you embed Google shit on your sites, it's going to rank that much more powerfully.
Sure. All right. So moving along here, one other thing that we like to do is obviously do some competition research. And the way we like to do that is really just a simple Google search, product name plus reviews. It typically returns affiliate-driven results. So if you were to look up, let's do e-cigs here. Okay. So you can see here that there's a lot of reviews when it comes to e-cigarettes, which is telling you that there's a lot of affiliates in that space, and that it is a competitive space, but it also means that there's a heck of a lot of money in there.
Yeah, no one's doing this for fun.
No. Let's see. Review. There we go. That's what I meant to do.
One thing that came up there that I want to point out, when you search for what you just saw, like e-cig review or whatever, what came up as a suggestion was 2012. I think a lot of internet users are kind of, if you hit spacebar or whatever,
yeah.
A lot of users are sort of fed up with old content and that kind of stuff, and I think to a large extent because Google kind of sucks when it comes to displaying, what's actually relevant and good. People are putting in the date, like 2012, to see what's actually current, and so you can leverage this to a large degree, and these guys already have, as you can see. But put 2012 or whatever, 2013, next year in your title tags, and watch what happens. It's not as much traffic, but you'll get a much easier stream of traffic flowing to you for these very targeted keywords.
Just writing that down, man. Every time we get on these things, I'm always scribbling little notes as to what you're saying here. You can see here, let's see, six results down. We got a guy that's doing, again, just what you were saying, 2012 rated Apollo cigarette, electronic cigarette review. Okay, this guy's not even, he didn't build a website or anything to get that number 6 ranking. And there he is at number 6 on the front page for e-cigs.
Yeah, nice.
Let's see what he has going on here. So I guess this is either his affiliate ID or something like that for these guys.
Looks like it.
Yep, it sure does. So he's got number 6. You think he's making some money?
He's making some money.
Heck yeah, with that kind of traffic for sure. All right. So let's see here. For I did the same thing for Halo reviews and got a whole bunch of stuff with Halo reviews. Again, with 44 million results, we've got 3 videos sitting in number 3. Okay. So again, that's telling you how awesome this really is. I wonder if that's a good one with 2012 behind it. Halo 4.
Yep.
See, I don't know what Halo E3 is.
I think E3 is some sort of like gaming convention or something like that. It's kind of a, yeah.
Sure.
For a specific product like that, I'm not sure if the 2012 factor will be as effective because the product version is going to dictate the age. Yeah. But yeah, but either way, I mean, obviously there's still people searching for it. So.
Right. All right. So of course I added the Bing Webmaster Tools in there. That's something we're definitely going to want to remember. It's
insane. It's so refreshing to actually have real data. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. Everyone should go and sign up for it right now. Seriously, yeah. I mean, or whatever after the webinar and stuff. Yeah, definitely. I'm wondering how long it's going to take for services like SEMrush to incorporate those results inside of their tools as part of like their own algorithm, if they're not already. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know what they offer for an API. I don't know. Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about getting traffic, because once you have your website built, your research done, your website built, it's time to get some traffic. And Chris, I know that you're very good at this.
the thing that I like to do again is going back to the freestyle videos. Videos definitely seem to rank easier than full websites, especially now post penguin, panda, or whatever other animals they're going to throw into the mix.
Let's talk about some ranking factors for videos real quick. Want to do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to share what you do, or first, and then I'll?
You can go first. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was curious about this, and I was wondering if, is it links that affects it? Is it like user experience, signals? Is it just view count? And so I ran a couple tests on about 20 different videos or so, and it's pretty definitive. And I'm talking YouTube. I don't know about Vimeo and the other sites. I haven't tested them, but with YouTube anyway, links and the experience or I guess signals coming from users that watch them all the way through. And so what you want to do, and there's services for this. You can go on Wikidfire or whatever and find tons of services that do this. You want to find a service where people go and watch your videos from start to finish, from obviously a unique IP address, a unique YouTube account, and then they vote it up. And additionally, what you want to do is you want to build a shit ton of links to each video. You can use wiki links, you can use pretty much whatever, and that will have a significant effect on your rankings, both in YouTube itself and, more importantly, in the SERPs. Gotcha.
I know before all these changes started coming down a couple of months ago, I was using SENuke X and creating like a two-tier link slamming, like we've been talking about the last year or so, and I found that that was pretty effective in getting my videos a lot of attention, and so I haven't done a whole lot in terms of that right now. I've been programming a lot lately, but at that point I was finding that the two-tier linking was doing a good job.
Yeah, it definitely does. Maybe what I'll do is there's two resources for two-tier linking. I use two different services. I use the Hoth.com. That's THEHOTH.com, just so people can have that as a reference. And I also use SEOlutions. I think it's .com. I'm going to double check that right now in my browser just so I have the right. No, it's actually .biz. I'm glad I checked.
So it's SEO what?
SEOlutions.biz, so SEOLUTIONS.biz. And if you go to their Simple Solutions offer, then they actually build 400 Web 2.0 kind of frontline Tier 1 properties, and they slam them with 20,000 wiki links and 75,000 blog comments. And that will pretty much bring up whatever you want.
Gotcha. So are you finding that link building is still working out for you?
Oh, big time.
Yeah. I figured so am I. I guess it was kind of a loaded question.
That's fine. Real quick, it's the Hoth. So it's probably not coming through on my microphone, but it's HOTH.com.
Okay, HO. The Hoth. Gotcha. Not the Hoff, like the actor.
Well, that'd be even better.
Yeah, I know. I have a feeling he probably has it. Yeah.
I would call it the half if it was my service.
Yeah, that's true. No doubt.
But yeah, no, link building unquestionably is still king of the show. I mean, anyone that tells you otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about.
Definitely. And earlier today, Chris and I were talking about exact match domains. Now, I know EMDs are not new, and I think that there's been some people that have been talking negatively about EMDs and how they're finding that their exact match domains were kicked out of the rankings and all that. Well, Chris, you had a different experience lately. You want to share that?
Yeah, my experience was drastically different.
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, to back this up, I think a lot of people lost rankings with EMDs, exact match domains, simply because they were using outed blog networks. And so if you were part of like Build My Rank or some of the other big ones, even like Vana, chances are, I mean, you could have had like, MotherTeresa.gov and your site was going to get tanked. So, exact match or not, that's what happened. Those sites got cooked. The reality is, though, is that if you look at the actual SERPs, if you ignore what the morons are saying on like SEO Moz and whatever else, and you actually go and do some Googling, especially in high competition niches, what you'll see is that the only sites that are really ranking right now, in addition to vendors, government sites, Wikipedia, and whatever else, and like news sites, the only sites that are in the runnings are EMDs. And so it's I don't know. You can take that for what it is, but that's the data doesn't lie. So what we've done in our niches, and we are in some very, very competitive niches, we've just exclusively been using like little 2 or 3 page EMD sites, and we've been building a mixture of 2-tier structures, a couple high PR links, just from people that sell them on their purpose-built blogs, and some press releases, and a couple social signals through Synd, SYNND.com. And within actually 2 weeks, we were ranking page 1, top of page 2, fluctuating for insane keywords like instant loans, that kind of stuff. So as for the argument of does exact match domain does it still work? Absolutely, it still works. And in fact, we're being outranked by guys that have like shittier sites with seemingly no links. And my guess is they're probably pushing a whole bunch through 301 redirects. But that's what's happening.
Gotcha. All right. We've got one question here. Steve Hawkins is asking exactly what 2-tier link slamming is.
Okay. Basically, a 2-tier link structure means that instead of building links exclusively to your target website, so let's say your website is golfstuff.com. Instead of building links to golfstuff.com, what you would do instead is you would build, say, 10 mini blogs on, say, Weebly, Squidoo, LiveJournal, whatever, and then you would make a real nice sort of like fancy blog thing or mini website on those free services, and on those websites, or I'll call them Web 2.0 pages, you would link to your actual site. So those mini blogs would link to your actual website, which would be golfstuffs.com. And then what you do is instead of linking to your money site, golfstuff.com, you then blast the ever-living hell out of those 10 mini blogs with kind of what we used to do 3-4 years ago to our money sites. And so that includes, it's as far as you want to take it, but you can use outright spam links like XRumor, Scrapebox blasts, that kind of stuff, or you can sort of do what I do, which is a mix of wiki links. We use even bookmarks. We use other Web 2.0s. We use spun article submissions, all that kind of stuff. So
Gotcha.
That's how she's done.
Yeah, which again isn't a new technique, but
not at all.
It's what's working now, and I like the idea. I like the term 2-tier link slamming better than what's the other thing that was called?
I think there's link shields or
yeah,
something like that. Yeah, I forget what it was called.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so now we've covered traffic. By then, after you get some of this, your linking done, you should start seeing your traffic rolling in. Again, this isn't going to happen overnight, but it definitely will come. As far as maintenance goes, I know that a lot of times what you're going to want to do is continue to add some content over time. If you've got a vested interest in that particular money site. Or if it's really just if you're in a churn and burn kind of mode where you're just cranking out websites one niche after another, throwing links at them and moving to the next niche. Again, you're prospecting for a place to plant your flag. You're not going to really be doing all that much managed maintenance on top of that until you start to see some results. What kind of stuff are you looking at as far as like continued maintenance after you build a niche site, Chris?
It really depends on the site. If we're talking like a little EMD, exact match domain, basically you just sort of you monitor the rankings using something like microsite masters or whatever. And there's actually, what's it called? There's some, I don't use it myself and I really should, but there's some program out there, I forget what it's called, but it sends you like email alerts if you lose rankings, and that really comes in handy when you have like 200 sites.
Sure.
So anyway, there's something like that out there. But basically what you do is when you're tracking your rankings and stuff, with EMDs, with smaller sites, with the pushers and the feeder sites, what you do is you just keep track of basically where they're at, how they're doing. When they start to fade, then you just slap a couple to your link structures or press releases or whatever at the site, and then stay on top of it that way. However, we're going to talk about this more in the next section, but there's really not necessarily that much incentive to do that when you start looking at what you can do by exiting out of these sites at a certain point. And so it depends on the purpose for why you built those sites. However, if we're not talking about an exact match domain, and if we're not talking about a small like affiliate site or review site or whatever, let's say we're talking about an actual authority site. So this is something you've invested a lot of time into and a lot of energy and stuff. Basically, you kind of have to have a steady drip. You have to have a steady drip of links, steady drip of new content, steady drip of activity, yada, yada. In time, you sort of get to the point where all it takes is to put up new content, and then sort of, your audience, if it's a real site and you have like lists, stimulating this thing and all that kind of stuff, then it's really a natural organic process. And that's sort of actually, you don't have to simulate linking at that point. When you have a real property or like a real blog and a real site that people actually, go to, then the whole SEO process is it's really quite straightforward, and it's almost hands-off because those things happen naturally. But, try running more than one of those at a time.
Yeah.
Have fun. So that's kind of the thing. I guess that's the only way to put it. I mean, the maintenance on a larger site, on a real business, more or less takes care of itself because you're never going to be done. You're always going to be running more press releases. You're always going to be running more promotions, more this, that, whatever. As you interact with your customers, you're gonna add real links to your site as well, just by the way that it happens, So
yeah, and getting that social interaction in there. You're probably going to want to incorporate Facebook into the more authority sites that you're going to create.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so it's always there on your mind to continually push that forward.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think kind of with real business, though. I mean, especially if you've got as your customer base sort of builds up. I mean, you almost can't get away from it. Like, it's not about, what should I do on Facebook? It's, look, 800 people are whining about something on Facebook or whatever, right? It's kind of
right.
It's more about management than it is about sort of maintaining.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Sure. All right. So we've created we've created a bunch of niche sites. We have found a couple of them that are worth planting a flag into and really developing out from just being just a niche site and really just a prospecting site to try to find, a solid niche that's going to be profitable.
Right.
It's a year or so down the road, and now it's time to start thinking exit strategy. Whenever we go into a project, together or individually, we're always adding that into the business plan. You always want to start thinking about that exit strategy right up front, okay? Because that can be the ultimate payday. It's nice to get those paydays along the way, whether it be affiliate commissions or subscription income, or one-off type of one-time purchases, that type of thing. But it's really nice. The real prize is when you come to the finish line there, and you have yourself an asset that is valuable. Okay.
Exactly.
The bare minimum, okay, is really a 3 to 4 month history. If you hit a home run with your niche site that you've planted your flag into, and you're driving all kinds of traffic and it's making money, anybody can be a flash in the pan. Anybody can get lucky at first, but then if the traffic dies off over time, your commissions start dwindling. That happens, many times to a lot of people. I mean, it's happened to me, obviously. But if you can put together a site that pulls in a consistent commission at least 3 to 4 months, that's when you can start really, looking at that. And that's really the first chance that you can do. I mean, you don't want to start doing that before 3 to 4 months. Do you think, Chris?
Well, it all depends on the kind of site. I mean, if we're talking a standard affiliate site or AdSense site, then yeah, I mean, you kind of do need 3 to 4 months of history to offload that. And I would think, or I'm going to add here that that's when we're just talking about a very simple, straightforward, say like 5 to 10 page site. There isn't that much investment into the site itself. There isn't that much effort expended. It doesn't do anything special. It basically just soaks in traffic, and that's where you have, it makes sense, or it can make sense to sell those off every 3 or 4 months, more realistically 5 or 6, and that's sort of where, that makes sense. If you have a site that actually does something, like if you have like a special calculator or something, like if you developed your own like mortgage calculator or something like that, or if you have members, if you have an active like forum, if you have that kind of stuff, then you start talking about a significant change in approach when it comes to an exit strategy, because then you have a much more substantial asset then. But if we're just talking, a very basic site, then basically, from what I've seen and from what I've done and from the people that do this a lot more than I do, basically you're looking at 8x monthly revenue as a typical. I mean, that's what you can pretty much get for any kind of site, but you can also push that a little bit beyond. I mean, eight's kind of low. A lot of people go for like 10 to 12. I've sold sites for 18 months rev that aren't really anything that special, but they have a longer history of results. It's the reason why we do this is because you can cash out and you can also remove yourself from the liability of maintenance. So instead of having to worry about and manage or micromanage, at some point hundreds of sites, it's better off just selling out of them and putting it back into your business. I would say that you should talk to your accountant and talk to a legal professional, a tax professional in particular, and see if this can be considered a capital gain for you as opposed to just revenue, because then your actual take-home profit on that is substantially larger. Probably that only applies to the sites that you can sort of class as a real asset or a business or whatever, but that makes a big, big difference.
Okay.
I see a question popping up there. Someone saying 8x annual or 8x monthly. Definitely 8x monthly. 8x annual.
Yeah.
if you can pull that off, I'll kiss your feet. So someone was saying though, I just lost it. Where do we sell these sites? Well, I think the obvious one is Flippa, but that's not always the case. When I have a high value site, like when I have a site that's doing, say, like 6 figures ish, typically what I'll do is I'll go to, well, actually where I first start is usually with the vendor of whatever product it's promoting or products. So if it's in, say, like the Forex niche or whatever, the first person I'll approach, and I haven't sold any sites in the Forex niche, by the way, but the first person I would approach would be the vendor or my main vendor I was promoting, and basically say, hey, you know what, you know my numbers, you know what I'm capable of, and you've watched the site come up over the last year or whatever. I want to get out of this market. Do you want to buy it? They'll be much more likely to take a look at that seriously because they already know you, they know the site, you know, there's no question as to what it does. And so I've done that in the past where I've sold sites to vendors. But you can also approach other major players in the niche. I mean, everyone will look at it, especially if you've been outranking them for a while. Trust me, then they'll really look at it. So that's where I would start. Chances are you'll get way more money for your assets doing that than you will on a place like Flippa.
Yeah, so Flippa would be your last choice.
Yeah, well, it'd be the last choice for a real site. If it was just some shitty little 5-page thing, then Flippa's great. One thing I want to mention is that one thing I'm seeing is that we're actually being approached more recently. This started in the last year or two. There's like consulting firms. Oh, that's the wrong way to describe it. But I would say like sort of quasi-hedge funds and investment groups that are approaching webmasters and that are saying, you know what, we want to buy your site for, in the last case, actually the last email was a guy buying up public record sites, and they were offering 2.2 to 2.7 annual times the annual revenue as a buy-off, which is pretty crazy. So that's something to be aware of.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you can get 2 times the annual revenue, that's a nice chunk of change for sure.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah.
We've got one question. Bob is asking, can you please repeat about what you were saying about the accountant?
Well, yeah, basically, what I was saying is because I don't know how the law works for people in different places. I'm in Canada, so I know how it works for me, but in the States I have no idea. But if you're selling off a site for a lot of money, if it's a substantial amount that you're going to get for it, you should check with your accountant to see if that is classified as a capital gain, because you'll get to keep a lot more of that money if it is.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good tip for sure. All right. Okay, so let's go into the challenges now of building websites. Like when green marketers come into, or even intermediate marketers, the challenges that they could have with building niche websites is a lot of times they'll start targeting the wrong niches. They won't be able to tell exactly where the money is. Maybe they'll really shy away from the larger niches that have a lot of affiliates in there because they're not confident enough that they could really slide in there.
Right.
Which a lot of times can be it could be a very profitable experience if you are going after those competitive niches.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest mistake I made for the first 2 years of my affiliate experience was chasing after the micro niches that I thought no one else was going to tap. You know, what you realize real soon is that there's a reason why no one's tapping them.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
And it's honestly not that hard to rank. That's the thing. Like, it actually isn't that hard to gain traction. It can be hard to, like, you know, maintain it, but then at least by then you've got cash flow. You know, and yeah, and you can start playing at that level. So my advice to people is to get into the obvious niches to an extent, and to take like a fragmentary sort of offshoot of an obvious niche. So instead of targeting weight loss, which I don't think I could rank for it, you get into, you know, what are the sub niches? What are the specific areas? What are these sort of parallel topics that I can go after, and then start that way? That's what I would do, and then I would build up in that presence. So rather than building one big site targeting weight loss, I would build a couple different sites, you know, as many as I could, or as many as I could feasibly afford to do, in sort of these, like, you know, sections of the pie, so to speak, and that's how you do it. I mean, it's going to be far more profitable for you to occupy a sub niche of a very profitable space than it will to, you know, dominate some shitty market. Corey, did we lose you on audio there?
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I had my my mute button on there. One thing we notice in our forum at F Playbook is that we see a lot of new affiliates coming and promoting really worthless products. I am not a fan of the email submit. I mean, when I first came into affiliate marketing, that's the thing that I went after, was the email submits. I actually was I created a site that was targeting, like, what was called, it's the WIC program, Women, Infants, and Children. And I was, you know, I built a list of several thousand, you know, people that were looking for WIC. I was emailing them, email submits, you know, for various things like, now, I don't know, like trials of detergent and, you know, diaper type stuff, and anything that I could find. And I mean, it was very profitable, but when it came down to it, I wasn't building an asset, because I was really just pissing these people off, because they were then getting spammed to high heaven. So that was really one of the biggest mistakes that I made coming into affiliate marketing, was promoting a crap product like email submits.
Yeah, you sort of have to, like, let me put this in a certain way. You have to sort of be actually more experienced and willing to ride that sort of raggedy edge of ethics to do well in those kinds of markets. And you also have to be good at hiding yourself from your customers.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if that's what you want to do, then by all means. But yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely matured quite a bit, and now I go, there's so many products that you can promote. You know, you can promote anything from online stuff to offline stuff. I found a guy that I was just getting solar panel. It's an estimate for solar panels, and I'm talking to the sales guy, and, you know, a bell goes off in my head. This guy's looking for leads, so I started asking him a little bit about what he pays for leads. And for residential, he'll pay $250 to $500 for a residential lead that converts to a sale. And he'll pay, excuse me, $1,000 for a commercial lead that, you know, converts on the back end. I mean, that's the kind of big stuff that is out there. And just to think how much time I spent promoting, these crappy email submits years ago. I just want to smack myself.
Oh yeah, but we all go through it. I mean, back when I was sort of in that phase as well, I remember those ringtone offer things where people could like, buy ringtones and shit. That was kind of one of the first things I got into, and I remember it was actually one of the first sort of AdWord things I had set up too. And it was ironic because I literally made the same amount of money, like to the cent, from it was Azoogle ads at the time, as what I had spent in AdWords. So I was all excited to see my commissions. I was like, oh, right on! I made like $600, and then I looked at how much my PPC was. And I had daily limits and stuff, but I just sort of, wasn't really watching the ROI, and it was literally to the cent the exact same cost, and so I was like, this sucks.
You know what? I had a very, very similar experience, and that's actually why I put BizOps on here, because during the recession, I started promoting some BizOp offers. Not necessarily, I don't know if it was a ripoff or not, but I really didn't know that much about the product. But I was spending, for 2 days, I was bringing in about $850, $900 in commissions per day. But same like what you were saying, I was spending $850 the first day on AdWords traffic and $875 the next day. So I spent all that money and I made $75 in those 2 days. And I could have lost my butt if the offer didn't convert. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So that brings us then to what is the done-for-you solution here when it comes to your niches. I mean, I was wondering, Chris, if you'd like to talk a little bit about Affiliate Recon.
Yeah, sure. Basically, Affiliate Recon was kind of it was brainchild of myself and Corey, and we had both sort of talked. I forget how we met. I think someone sold you a site or something that used.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, we sort of got talking, and I think you had an API for SEMrush data. And I thought, man, that's great, because if you combine that with proven niches, that would be a freaking gold mine, And so that's essentially what we did. I mean, it's more comprehensive, by far than that. But that was sort of how the idea started. We thought, you know what? Instead of building another keyword research tool, why don't we just tell people what's actually freaking profitable, and then from there they can research those keywords that are connected to that already proven, already profitable niche. Because the biggest problem that that Corey is seeing, and the biggest problem I've seen with people on my list or whatever, fresh affiliates, people on forums that are just starting out, is they're all promoting the same shit, and it's always like some make money offer on ClickBank, or it's the obvious stuff like weight loss, and they're promoting fat loss for idiots or whatever. And really, you can guess at how successful they're going to be, because it's so saturated. Like, you're just not going to gain traction. And if you're in the, if you're trying to cut your teeth in the make money niche, well, guess what? It really does take money to make money in that niche, because you got to have some proof. You got to have something to actually, put your reputation on for people to listen to you. In other words, you've had to have done something. The real money, though, honestly, is in the niches that a lot of people might consider boring, or maybe you haven't thought about. We've listed a couple examples tonight on the webinar, and stuff like electronic cigarettes. I know a guy that has done phenomenally well in that market, millions of dollars. We talked about public records. I can't think of what could possibly be more boring, but I can guarantee you that it's extremely profitable. Very recently, archives.com, which is sort of like a genealogy, birth records, vital records, marriage records, kind of provider, sold to what's that damn site? Ancestry.com. sold to Ancestry for $150 million. So that tells you kind of the scope and scale of these markets. And these are markets you can play in right now. Like Frank Kern isn't going to sell his business for $150 million, right? So, that's, it kind of puts it in perspective, and that's just one niche. So,
Yeah.
Kind of what we wanted to do with Affiliate Recon, I'll get back on track here. We wanted to just basically build a repository of starting points and brainstorming that wasn't based on someone's that wasn't based on endless possibilities. You don't arrive at a search box like you do in SEMrush, like you do in SpyFu or any other Market Samurai, any other tool like that. That's really no good to anyone, unless you're already experienced. If you know that a certain niche is profitable, then that's great. Then you can start searching into that niche. But if you don't know, like the majority of people who start out do not know, then it really does nothing for you. I mean, you can look at how many competitors you'll have when you're promoting fat loss for idiots, and that's about it, right? And so we wanted to build something where it would show people hundreds of pathways in proven markets where affiliates are already making 6 figures plus, and that's what Affiliate Recon is. So, Corey, maybe I'll pass the torch over if I missed anything there, or if you want to go into the
No,
specifics
that definitely touched it. We built it so that we could show you people where other affiliates are making money right now. And something that's great about Affiliate Recon is that you're able to then dig down deeper and deeper and deeper into these niches. There's a dig button right next to all of your keyword sets that you can, so that it's not grab the top level. It's you can do your own digging and follow your own rabbit hole, and it can take you into niches and sub niches that you definitely would not have thought of underneath the main niche there. And that was something that was important to us as we were building this, is the ability to dig down and then also to add these keywords, these target keywords and topics into a basket so that you can hold on to them and use them as you start building out your site. You build what's really a framework as you're adding these to your basket. And we get into that. We demonstrate that in the webinars that are inside of Affiliate Recon. There's a few webinars that we've recorded in there, and there's also we do a webinar about every other month, sometimes every month, Dustin and I, that we talk about. We actually go through the build cycle. So right now we've got currently a $47 product, $47 a month. We add new niches every single week, and for OfferVault we are doing a $29 monthly special. We'll never get above 29 bucks, and it's only good for 4 days. We know that a lot of people on the OfferVault webinars watch the recording the next day. We were thinking about doing a 24-hour offer, but we wanted to make sure that a lot of OfferVault members get a chance to get in. So that's why we're leaving it open for 4 days. What you want to do is go to affiliaterecon.com/OfferVault, and that will redirect you to the main page, and you'll go through the purchase process, and that'll be tacked on before you get to the PayPal screen. So, what you want to do is go to affiliaterecon.com/OfferVault, and that will get you the $29 monthly special. Did I leave anything out there, Chris?
No, I mean that's solid. I mean, and I'm not going to like hype this up. It is what it is,
Yeah.
And if that sounds like it's appealing to you, it's definitely worth your time. One thing I can tell you from experience is that your success in this business model in affiliate marketing, it really doesn't come down to tactic so much as it is what you're selling. We a while back, Corey, you pulled up that video of the guy selling e-cigs or whatever on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I would bet, my house that guy's made more money from that video than the guy with 180,000 views on his Halo 4 trailer. You know, even though there's infinitely more traffic than the 5,700 or whatever on that e-cig video. It has to do with the market. It has to do with the product. And, you know, for the first 2 years of my kind of affiliate journey, I was promoting stuff, like I was mentioning before, that was obscure. It wasn't competitive. It was in markets that I could easily dominate, but there was a reason for that. And I, at one point, and this is actually kind of a funny story, I took 20 minutes one day to run an experiment on this extremely popular at the time offer in ClickBank. I won't go into the tactic. We'll leave that for another day. But basically, I forgot about it. I submitted this thing off, and I just sort of, it slipped my mind. And about a couple weeks later, I logged into ClickBank and checked out my stats, and this thing was making several $100s a day. And then, for whatever reason, the day after that, I logged back in, and I made $9,000, and it was like $9,200 or something in a single day. And then it just kind of it dropped off from there. I think in total that 20-minute experiment netted me like 50 grand, and
wow.
it was nuts. And so the biggest thing, though, it wasn't so much about that. I mean, that just kind of got me into it kicked me in the ass, and it woke me up and said, Chris, get into the markets where people are spending money. Get into the obvious markets, because that's where it's at. You know, stop chasing these sort of obscure, like, you know, weird niches that you can, you know, that don't have the competition. There's a reason why they're not competitive. And so it woke me up. You know, I've since you know had campaigns that far outshine that. But the point is, if you're not in the right market, and if you don't know what to sell, then you're screwed. Because it doesn't matter how much traffic you get, or what your tactics are, or you know what kind of backlinking you do. It means nothing. You have to know what's profitable and what to sell. Essentially, you have to know where to fish. That's a phrase we use a lot in affiliate recon. You know, a lot of people teach you how to fish. Well, what's more important is someone who shows you where to fish, because then you'll actually catch something. So I think I said my piece with affiliate recon. Maybe
there's one interesting question here.
Just going to say, let's look at some of the questions.
Yeah, Ed brings up an interesting point. He's wondering if you can use paid traffic on these niches. Affiliate recon wasn't made just for SEO. Affiliate recon niches can be, you know, you can drive traffic through any means to these. You can do SEO, you can do video, social, paid traffic, pop traffic, retargeting, any kind of paid banners, media buys, whatever. These are solid niches, and with a twist on there, with some, you know, it's done for you research, really, is what it is. Let's see. Rich is asking, how diluted are these niches? If everybody is getting the same niches, how can we make money like that?
Well, we've sort of been talking about that, you know, the entire webinar, really. And I don't mean to be condescending or anything like that, or minimize the question. It's a fair question, but the reality is this isn't like a comment, this isn't like an auto-approve blog list where there's a finite number of backlinks to go around. This is a niche list, which is sort of like getting market intel or market research data. There's always room for people. It's not necessarily even something that can run out, because all it takes is to outrank someone, and it's not that hard. So the most profitable niches I've been in have been fiercely competitive since the turn of the century. So when I'm talking about niches that were like majorly competitive back when Alta Vista was the main search engine, and Google, you know, wasn't even like a glint in the milkman's eye, so to speak, you know.
Sure.
And that's the reality of these niches. You know, we mentioned a few of them. Actually, electronic cigarettes is obviously one that's emerged. That's a new one. That's on the way up, by the way. So I advise people to get into that. But you know, the sort of tried and true stuff like background checks, whatever, that's been around since Net Detective, which is like 1996. You know, and that's been a moneymaker for how many years is that now? Is that getting on like 15, 20, something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so you know, and we're talking like probably 20,000 affiliates have passed through that niche, left their mark, put up sites, whatever, and there's still tons of traffic for the taking. Plus, the advantage right now, if you're going after organic traffic, is that guess what? Penguin is a big frickin' mop that went and like cleaned out most affiliates. And so right now, you look at a lot of niches, and they're wide open. All the stuff that used to be untouchable is wide open. So if for no other reason than that, now is a good time to start getting into niche research. But in terms of us sharing these lists with a couple hundred people, I guarantee you that the people that are actively going to compete in these markets anyway already know about them. And adding a few more into the stream through a service like Affiliate Recon, it really will have no effect.
Yeah. You mentioned that People Search one. I know that 15 years after it came out, or close to 20 years, you had a website that was doing pretty good in the People Search niche.
Yeah, you bet.
Didn't you, Chris?
I had a site that was actually ranking for a few months #1 for reverse phone lookup as well. I was one of the early adopters there, and I was outranking like the white pages, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, see, anything's possible. And I didn't even spend that much on link building with that site, but yeah, you can't look at niches like a finite thing. Like everything is attainable.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Claire's asking if there's a one-time offer inside of Affiliate Recon. There is, but it's not something that's gonna keep you from being successful or getting full access to what we're offering inside of Affiliate Recon. It's 3 very value-packed webinars, about probably 6 hours worth of video that is SEO, SEO talk, niche research, and it just goes deeper and deeper into it. So that's what the one-time offer is. But with Affiliate Recon, you get access to everything in there except for those 3 webinars. So, let's see here. How many niches do you provide each month? Dustin is our niche research guy, and he does 2 every single week. So we've got a niche ops area and a market intel area, and he provides 1 niche to each of those weekly.
What's the database at now? Just so people know.
Wow, I'd have to pull it up. Let me check it out. You want to take some other questions, and I can look this up real quick?
Yeah, sure. I just thought that'd be useful for people to know. I just got to expand my question list here. Where do you buy your content? If you're talking about sites, I have my own writers, but articles.com is great for generic content. That's article with a Z, articles.com. Does your niche results include available offers in the niche, especially high converting offers? Yes, it does. That's a key thing that we wanted to include. We wanted to include that for obvious reasons, but just not only from an offer choice perspective, but also from a content creation perspective. We wanted to show you who the players were in the niche.
Okay, just pulled into Affiliate Recon, and Chris, we are just shy of 100 niches.
Cool.
Yeah. We've been building content inside of Affiliate Recon since, let's see, March. So late March, we started adding niches, several to pump up the database in the beginning, and then after March, at the end of March, we started adding 2 per week. So that's where we are with that.
So just a comment, sort of question, gentlemen. You actually have live people doing the research on an ongoing basis and identifying the target niches. It's not something based on an algorithm that runs while you're off on the beach somewhere. This is...
No, exactly.
No, the algorithm's name is Dustin.
Yeah, I know Dustin. Actually, yeah, that's not a bad analogy at times. I mean, the guy knows his stuff, but I thought that was an interesting thing to realize that, on an ongoing basis, you're dipping your toe in the water to see what's happening. And am I correct that if a niche, that was out a little while ago has collapsed, it's no longer in the database?
Yes.
Exactly.
Once in a while, we'll get feedback that an offer has been pulled or something like that, and we have to go back in and adjust some of those niches. But yeah, it's definitely not automated. It's Dustin.
And we shouldn't solicit this type of information, but since you're spending all your time developing this real-time intelligence, is it fair to say you're sort of working in these niches that you're coming up with yourself, since they're supposed to be pretty good?
Absolutely. It wouldn't be, it's so tempting. You see this stuff and you see the opportunities in there. And I've developed 3 websites based on these niches. Now, I didn't want to, pig out and build 100 sites on every single one, because I kind of felt like I was, like that would be insider information if I got there first. But yeah, I'm definitely inside of those niches.
Yeah, most of the initial seed list that we put in is stuff that I've been involved with or that I know people directly who are in those niches. By seed list, I think it was the first 50 markets that we loaded in. As for the other stuff that Dustin has gone in and researched and found and that we've all sort of come up with together, I've actually started hitting almost all of them. Not with EMDs, but I have a pretty large review site that's pretty much all encompassing around all these sort of topics. And I have a staff of 4 to 5 writers, and all they do all day long is write reviews on those types of products. And so we've been hitting it. So I don't have nearly the moral fortitude that Corey does, because I'm hitting them all.
Now, here's a question I think is important. Do people need to have mastered SEO and already have existing great web pages to get into these niches? Or is this something that they're going to be able to deal with through the program without having to spend 9 years in a basement studying everything?
Well, SEO is pretty straightforward, and we do cover, I guess, in the webinars, how we do that, but it's also a lot more open-ended and accessible than people might think these days. Like you can go to squidoo.com or Hub Pages, well, Squidoo is more affiliate-friendly, and put up, a product review, a quality review of something that you see in Affiliate Recon, and you can go and, drop a couple links about that on other places on Squidoo or on some blogs that are related to that product, and literally that's enough to actually get some search engine presence and start generating a couple sales here and there. And so this is by no means inaccessible to people that might not have, quote unquote, a PhD in SEO.
Let's see here.
And here's one of those $64,000 questions you always love to try to answer. Ha 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 ha. How much money does somebody need to spend to get a site to rank and start making money? Obviously, start making money is one of those, who knows, but do you have to spend a lot of money to get a site to rank?
We rank that exact match domain I was talking about for instant loans and instant cash loans for a total of $200, just to give people an idea.
That's great. I mean, that's definitely a budget.
that's an abnormality, and I'm going to say that that's probably like penguin weirdness, but I want to paint the picture that it's not impossible. For some keywords, you will, I mean, if you're going for weight loss, have fun. But if you're going for specific stuff, like product-specific stuff, especially if you're using kind of supportive like Web 2.0 properties, YouTube, that kind of thing, it honestly isn't that hard to rank for, you know, specific product name 3.0 review. Like, you can do that inside of a couple weeks, you know. And a lot of the, especially the blacker hat stuff or the gray hat stuff, link building sort of on the dark side is actually very affordable. And so if you are comfortable doing that and you know, and you're not using high risk properties, it's very affordable.
But you can still go strictly organic if you're like me and you're not allowed to spend money because somebody's watching what you do every day.
Yeah, I mean, if you have, you know, if someone is monitoring your accounts and you know, slapping you if you exceed your, you know, budget or whatever, then yeah, you can definitely do this organically and even freely. You know, like I was mentioning, you can use free sites like squidoo.com, you know, and you can go and generate traffic to that page by commenting on popular blogs for free, or posting on specific and relevant like Facebook threads or forum threads for free. You can do all that for free.
Now, it's fair to say that this is not a push button A, check bank account B, go to Cayman Islands C process like a lot of people seem to think they should be able to find on the internet in marketing. There is no 30-second process to success out here.
The only one I'm aware of
this is a business. Am I correct?
Exactly. Yeah, the only one I'm aware of is the withdraw funds button in PayPal, where that's possible. No, I mean, in all seriousness, you have to treat this like a business, and you have to realize that, you know, you're generating profit as a result of selling stuff. That's the bottom line. And you know, you can take a look at how your competitors do it and stuff, but this is not some formula or magic system. It's just that's not what I'm into. That's not what we're selling at all. You know, this is maybe for people that have a better, or that have a clearer grasp on that. So it's for people that are willing to realize that this is a marketing effort and a marketing tool.
And we have somebody asking if they'll be able to sign up for the special offer within, say, 2 days from now. And as Corey knows, I have a great memory. It's just got a very short time span. You said that you were going to leave this up for 4 days as a nice gesture to the people at OfferVault who often watch the replays later, because as we know, the global community isn't always available at the same time. So our guy looking for 2 days grace is going to get it, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, that's what we're going to do. We talked about that a little bit beforehand. So, yeah.
Well, that's great. That's great. I got a stupid question of mine based on, you know, you've got guys out there looking to see what niches are possibly worthwhile. You guys looking at anything that's sort of like futures, possible news, events, planned things, gossip style information as to what might be coming down the pike in 6 or 8 months? For example, Halo 4 isn't going to come out till November, and people were jumping all over this last fall. Are you looking forward for those kind of things, like what will be something to be worth watching? Something that's worth watching or prepping for now? Because I know a lot of those sites, you actually start building something now, even though the product itself isn't even available.
We'll have to ask well, actually, Corey, you might know, but my answer to that would be that I would have to talk to Dustin, since he's the one doing it.
Yeah, he's the niche research guy. He's the one that's doing that. That takes care of that part.
I think the comment on that, though.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Real quick, I think, you know, that's one style of niche marketing for sure, where you're kind of riding trends, and a lot of people do very well with that for sure. There's no question, especially like the I call them like ambulance chasers, but I guess launch chasers. People setting up sites, especially sort of preceding like a big internet marketing launch, whatever. It's not really my style because I don't like riding trends. I don't like to have something that only exists to make money for X period of time and then it's sort of over. I like to be able to sell sites off that have the possibility of continuing a trend of profit. And so I think, by and large, Dustin has followed that sort of philosophy as well when he's finding these niches. We're looking for kind of stuff that's more evergreen, where you can go in and actually build a little micro business around it, so to speak.
If this was already answered, then tell me to pay attention better next time. When you talk about selling off a site after it's developed into something that's an asset, do you have a formula where you think, okay, this is sort of doing okay, but I don't want to spend any more time with it, and I know it's not going to take off, and I'll split off and go find something else that's going to take off? Or is this just a gut feeling you come up with every time?
For myself personally, it's just kind of, it's also a way to mitigate risk. And so if I have too many sites on the go where I have to defend rankings or whatever, a way to get out of stuff and not think about it and not stay up at night thinking about it is just to sell it. And so you got to ask yourself, do I want to be involved or care about this niche, 5 years from now? Is this kind of, am I running out of headspace on a given day? Because you can't do that much stuff in a day. At least I can't anyway. Some people are great multitaskers. I suck at it. I'll start playing Halo 4 if I have to do that much stuff. So I think for me it's a gut feeling. There's a couple of things though. I mean, you want to have, if you can, you want to sell a site on a growth curve. So you want to have sort of like the reverse hockey stick, where it starts off slow and then slowly builds. And if you get it on that sort of upswing, then you can sell sometimes for a projection, as opposed to just, it makes X amount per month, here is my stated price. And that's more going to happen privately as opposed to somewhere like Flippa. If you have sites where they're just kind of kicking around, doing their thing, maybe making X amount per month, and they're just sort of hanging on, if you want to offload those to say like raise some capital for something or to just sort of cash up, then that's where you go to Flippa. That's where you go to maybe some of the buyers you've worked with in the past and say, hey, you know what, do you want to buy these? And there's no real sort of formula that's used. If you have a site that's failed, you can do two things with it. You can turn it into part of your private network. So if you want to build your own sort of link network where you can easily build backlinks all the time, that's one option. Or you can just sell the site for its content value. And I sold a site way back in the day for $500 that was making $0, but had a bunch of content that it was no longer making money. So that's an option for people too.
Great stuff. You guys out there, OfferVaulters, check that out, the special offer at affiliaterecon.com/OfferVault. I think you'll find yourselves attracted to it, not only because these guys know what they're talking about, but these mind maps are really stimulating things to look at, and we really appreciate that, Corey. I actually understand how this goes. I can follow the chart.
That's good. I'm glad. Is there, if I export this to a PDF, is there somewhere that you'd be able to post it?
I'll tell you what, if you want to shoot me the PDF, I will attach it when we process it up, and if there's an opportunity to have it included, I'll see what they'll do. I can't do it myself. I'm not, as you know, I'm not in charge of that, but I'll certainly pass it along. And just in case folks have missed it, this is recorded, and we'll have it up in the members area within 24 hours in the webinar history. You'll be able to check it out. and see Corey's marvelous mind map there. So, but yeah, that's a great thing. That's much appreciated. We'll see what happens. And is there anything you guys would like to close off with, or is there? Here's a great rude question to ask you. What's the best thing that somebody should do to get started, and what's the thing they should absolutely not do to get started with this kind of concept?
Okay, I would say don't overthink it. The idea here with niche website, especially when you're in the prospecting stage, once you get past your initial concepts and your research, you want to build. Build a site, SEO, throw some off-site SEO at it, go to the next niche. Build a site, SEO it. Build a site, SEO it. Just like that until you find something that really clicks with your style of writing, with the way you do SEO. There's so many factors involved here. And when you put that all together and you find that in one or two of those niches, that you build out, that you're starting to really make some headway, that's where you want to plant your flag and start developing that out further. So it's really, start churning, start cranking out the sites for sure. How about you, Chris?
Oh man, I couldn't have said it better. That's what it is. People get into information paralysis or whatever it is, and that's where you talk to someone that has done literally nothing for 6 months, and they're on the warrior forum or whatever, learning how to be a warrior, I guess. But really, you got to build sites, promote them, and move on. And that's where I attribute all of my success in the past. It's just trying shit, seeing what works, and running with what does. And so there's no hard and fast. The key is just to really just try stuff. Use low risk campaigns initially. Do stuff that you can do simply that works for you. If it's just posting the thing on Squidoo and that's all you want to start out with, that's totally fine. You don't have to do all this crazy SEO stuff. But regardless, the point is don't overthink it and run with what makes sense to you where you're at right now.
Okay, and the one thing you must not do, or the most important thing to remember not to do as you get started.
Well, this sounds a little controversial and maybe contradictory, but don't buy a bunch of shit. Don't go and buy a bunch of training courses and load up your credit card with training. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Go out there, find free blogs, find tutorials, whatever. It's just like the internet's filled with them. And basically choose one style, one business model, and treat it like you're building a deck. This isn't some secret formula. This isn't like, the inner circle of whatever. That's all a bunch of bullshit. Go and treat this like a project in your backyard and get this stuff done. Just get her done. That's what to do, and I guess what not to do is the other. Don't absorb training material after training material. Don't go and join high-priced coaching clubs. You don't need that.
Excellent advice.
It's all about taking the action. You gotta sit down at your computer and bang these things out. And if you're gonna spend money, spend it on some of the traffic sources that Chris was mentioning down here.
Yeah, if you have $200, don't go buy some asshole's course. Go and spend it on backlinks on a test campaign.
Yeah.
Great advice. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And again, Corey, thanks so much for the mind map. And keep in mind, folks, that the concept of focusing or narrowing a niche that everybody else is playing in isn't that much different than the fact that there are 16 different car companies out there. And they all make different commercials, but they're all competing in the same niche. And every day somebody's got something new coming out. So there's always an opportunity to play in the big pond with a fresh approach that gets you recognized. And that's what you guys are suggesting we do. Take a fresh approach to an existing structure and see what you can come up with. Break in with a new version of an old song.
That's a really good way to put it. And in fact, that's That's what my most successful affiliate site did back in the day. It was the same old thing, but it was just a fresh angle on it. That's all it was.
Anything you want to close out with at this point, gentlemen? Secrets to growing hair or lottery tickets or how to cool myself in 103-degree heat would be greatly appreciated.
No, I think we covered it all. We're sitting here at an hour and a half, and I think we're pretty comprehensive here. How about you, Chris?
Well, I was going to say, Chris has gotten kudos for his blunt advice, and I agree. It's nice to get somebody to tell you, don't do this, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife thinks otherwise sometimes, but I don't know, man. There's so much shit in this industry, right? And it's just, I think people need to hear like the reality of what actually happens.
Absolutely.
How true. We'll call it a night, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. And once again, thanks to Chris and Corey for taking the time, especially during this heat wave. I got a sneaking suspicion some of the folks down in the Midwest are probably looking out the window hoping their lawns don't burst into flame. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Good night, all.
Right
Absolutely,
on.
Rick. Thanks for having us on, buddy. And Chris, I'll talk to you later.
You bet. Thanks so much, guys.
Good night, everyone.